All right, guys, welcome back to another Her Lounge podcast. I am on a roll here. I told y'all I am on a mission this year to not skip putting out a episode. And before we get started, as you guys know, I said that this year I actually wanted to get started with either some sort of affirmation or some kind of positive quote. And today I just wanted to remind you guys, train your mind to see the good in everything. Positivity, is a choice. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. So just remember that anytime a little negative thought wants to creep in, you got to think positive, and just remember that the quality of your thoughts depends on your life. So anyhow, without further ado, guys, for those of you that don't know, on Monday, January 9th, it is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And I know that it's been a crazy time during the pandemic, and I know that a lot of people feel like the police department needs to be defunded, etc. I feel like I appreciate the police officers. I appreciate the service. I feel like every day that they go out on the street, they risk their lives, and they don't know if they get to come home. So if you ask me, that is a job that I would not probably do. And I respect it because it's a very, very hard job. On top of that, being a female police officer, I'm sure it's even tougher. So I definitely wanted to have a female officer and honor a female officer. Not saying that male officers are not important. Y'all are also, okay, guys, if you're listening to this. But I wanted to give credit to the females because it is a male-dominant industry, and women are not acknowledged as much as men are in this industry. So without further ado, give it up for Miriam Gonzalez.
Hi.
So thank you so much for coming on here. I know you just got off of work, so I appreciate you coming on. So tell us a little bit about what made you decide to actually become a police officer.
Well, thank you, first of all, Mariswole, for inviting me over.
Of course.
So basically how it all started, it wasn't even, never did it cross my mind that I was one day going to become a police officer.
Really? So it wasn't like something that you thought as a little girl, like, oh, one day I want to be a police officer?
No. What it was more like a, okay, I'm done with high school. Okay, I am done with my associates. What's the next part of my life?
Where do I go here?
Yeah, where do I go? So at the time, I used to work for a bank, and there was a HPD officer who used to work there as his extra job.
Uh-huh.
And he would work every Friday. And so he's like, so what are you going to do now? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, I honestly don't know what I can do with just my associates. Because I dislike school. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
He's like, well, have you thought about becoming a police officer? You know, we're hiring. And I'm like, no, LA, who's going to want a 5'1" female? I'm like, you know, that's my height. And so he was just like, no, you should apply, give it a try. And I never did because I just thought, oh, you know, I immediately thought they weren't going to call me. So after so many Fridays of him, every Friday he would ask me, have you applied yet? So one day, yeah. So one day I was like, you know what? Let me just apply just so I can be done and say, you see, they never called me.
Yeah.
So I ended up applying. It's so funny. Sure enough, they called me right away. The next thing you know, I go through the entire, application process. And before I knew it, I was already in the academy. I ended up joining after a year of being on. I decided to go back to school. It's so funny. And I ended up getting my 4-year degree, my bachelor's degree.
And now your master's also, right?
Just
you just celebrated. Yeah, Alexis was, I forgot where we were. I think we were, I don't know what we were doing, but they were having to leave early because you guys were having a party for.
Yes, so I recently got my master's
So congratulations with that also.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I have a question for you. So when you got like the confirmation that you were in, were you like, what did I just sign up for? Or were you like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this. I got it.
Well, you know what's so funny that when I joined, it was kind of like, wow, is this really something that you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, are you sure this is what you're going for?
Sure.
But at the same time, I was like, okay, so, well, let me give it a try. If once I'm on the field and I know that it's not for me, then I still have time to be like, I'm sorry, this is not for me. So I ended up going through the entire process. And once I ended up, going through the field training, which is out in the streets, I learned that I actually enjoyed it. I really liked it. And I was like, okay, I actually do like, patrolling, serving my community. Sometimes being the voice for just the community
in general. For sure.
Especially, I'm Hispanic.
Yeah.
Coming from the Latino side, also. So I really enjoyed it. I actually did 5.5 years on patrol before moving into investigations. So right now I'm in the child fatality unit.
Oh my gosh.
Basically any child that dies from age 7 and below, we go out and make those scenes.
Oh my God.
So yes, it's been pretty.
Wait, how long have you been doing that now?
That I'll be going on to three years coming up summer. Yes.
When you first, because like I said, to me, I feel like I'm not a police officer, so correct me if I'm wrong, but if me looking at you guys, I feel like pretty much every morning you walk out of your house and you don't know what crazy is going to maybe come at you. You don't know if some drunk driver, will, because it just happened not too long ago where I saw that a police officer was killed along with his patrol dog, So drunk driver, hit him, which was like funny. I was like, what? Where are you going out getting drunk at? Like, I thought we were supposed to be at home right now with this pandemic. I'm like, what? But anyway, all those risks that you guys take when you're out on the field, when you first did your first ride, what did you think? Like when you first encountered was it an instinct or was it more like, holy shit, what did I learn to do when I did that, when they said this happens, or was it natural? Like, oh no, you knew what to do.
So of course, you go through your training. So not only you ride with someone who's your trainer, who's actually telling you, okay, this is real life, this is what you got to do. A lot of times, what you learn at the academy is basically book stuff, and it's not,
okay.
So you just got to go with your instinct, what you got to think fast,
quick,
react pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny too, because a lot of the times while you're out, doing your job, sometimes without even thinking, your training does come back to you and you do remember, I recall one of my scenes, it was a man had committed suicide. And while we were at the academy, they tell us all these horrific stories that, we more likely gonna face.
Yeah.
And they're like, a lot of times you have to look up to the ceiling because what goes up must come down, right?
No, really?
So sure enough, we get there, we make the scene, and right as I was gonna step in, it just came to my mind.
Like look up.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my.
And the minute I look up, sure enough, I was like, whoa, let me step back a little, But it is true. And it just happens, sometimes it just happens quick that you remember small things like that, or, it's just in action, you just know you got to react.
My God.
How soon into the job were you like desensitized to the things you were seeing?
You know what? It's so funny that you say that too, because, you try to tell yourself, oh, work is work. Once you're off, you're you go back to your family.
Sure.
You try not to bring that into your home because eventually it could affect you. It could affect you and your family, and that's something that you always try to put that wall. But, not only like you're human, you have feelings. So, it took me a minute before it started really catching up to me after seeing, this horrific scenes where, me, I'm very religious as well, coming from a Hispanic, family.
Sure.
A Catholic, born and raised Catholic. So again, one of my murder scenes, it was a horrific scene, and it didn't hit me till like 6 months later. Wow. I started having like nightmares about it, and I will have nightmares with this girl. Oh. And after, I didn't even tell my family about it, but I ended up mentioning it to my mom. I said, Mom, you know, this happened like 6 months ago, and now I keep having dreams with her. She's like, well, you know what, mija, why don't you pray? Maybe her soul needs to like just rest,
yeah.
you know,
Wow.
rest in, you know, yes. And it was so funny because it seemed like that's just what I needed. So as I started like praying at night, it like them nightmares went away. So yeah,
that is freaky,
yes.
right? Oh my God, that's always what I think about. So it's crazy you say that because when I used to have my job placement agency, it was out of the deaf church, right? And at one point, our pastor there used to lease apartments across the street, and anytime that like a deaf homeless needed a spot, we paid the rent, or the church did, but the rent was paid, so just in case somebody needed a place to stay, right? Well, they stopped doing that. The church no longer had funds for that. So this guy needed a place to stay. They had nowhere to put him. So the pastor said, okay, we had a little like pantry area where we give free food and stuff at the church. And we said, okay, stay here. We'll bring your little cot and just stay there. Well, he decides to commit suicide at the church. And my cousin's cousin on her mom's side is a police officer also. And he texts me, he goes, hey, don't you work out of this church? And I said, yeah. I said, what happened? He's like, so someone just committed suicide and we got a call. I couldn't go back into that room, and I worked the pantry. You know what I'm saying? I was like, y'all better find another volunteer. I said, I can't do this. I was like, I never saw the body. I never but just the fact that I knew that he hung himself there, I just couldn't walk in this place knowing that this man, you know, committed suicide. It was just the thought of it. I was like, what must he have been feeling to have literally, it takes a lot of guts for you to just wrap a sheet, because he wrapped the sheet that we gave him on top of that. You know what I'm saying? And you wrap the sheet around and you hang yourself, and then you just wait for somebody to come and find you.
Right.
You know?
And you know what? It's so funny that you also mentioned that with my agency, which is HPD, Houston Police Department. I feel like we've came a long way as well within my 8 years of being on that I've seen. You know, now we have a lot of programs, you know, out there for, you know, police officers, which is just to have as a peer support from others.
Yeah, you know, because it's got to cause some kind of PST, right?
Yeah, and that's what we say too. You know, sometimes we want to be heard. You know, who is better than a coworker? You know, that might not know you, but it's nice that hey, you know, I just need to talk to somebody about this, and can you hear me out?
Yeah.
And so they've created an app, which is really, really good. I think it's a really, really great idea.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, and that's another thing that I kind of felt about whenever it was like everybody was mad about defunding the police. It's like, you guys, we don't even know what they go through every day. You know what I'm saying? I know that there's different departments. I know not every police officer is a good police officer. Obviously, in any field that's out there, you know what I'm saying? There is bad. And I heard this crazy thing the other day, which was insane to me, but it was comparing deaths in the medical field versus deaths by police officers, and it was a significant difference. Like there's almost like 250,000 a year that deaths happen with wrongly medical procedures or wrong, just maybe something they didn't do right, etc. A mistake, basically. And it was less than police officers. And what kind of like the argument was that I saw was no one protested about the medical stuff, but everybody was protesting against police officers. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting point of view. I never even thought about that. You know what I'm saying? I never thought oh yeah. And it's correct in everything there is out there, you know, and there is no such thing as a perfect police officer because we're human. It's a human out there doing this job, you know. If they were perfect, I mean, geez, you know, it's so to me, whenever I see a police officer or you even see somebody giving them a hard time, I'm just like, how hard is it just for you to do what they're saying? Just do it. And if you have a problem with it later on, get their badge number, report it, and call it a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying every situation is probably that easy, because obviously not every stop is probably the same. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes I feel, and I could be wrong, so maybe you can correct me, but I feel like if they just kind of listened and, you know, maybe followed the instructions that are being asked, and then question them, like, okay, so you pulled me over. Why? You really didn't have a reason? Okay. You just felt like being a dick today, or what? You know what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying? Okay, I need your badge number because this was uncalled for, you know? And then go ahead and report it, make a complaint. You know what I'm saying? But just because you feel like I'm going to talk to you however I want to talk to you, I don't know where I was, and I heard someone say, man, this was a long time ago. I don't know where I was. And the police officer had pulled someone over, and they said, my taxes pay you. And I was like, man, okay. Yeah, they also pay for firefighters, paramedics, and they're not the highest paid. I'm not sure if you know that. Like, that's why a lot of police officers have to take extra jobs or go back to school to get a higher degree so that they can get more money. Like, I don't know if anybody knows that. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, when I heard that, I was like, it's almost like, you know, when you say something and your mom needs to just slap you in the mouth. I kind of felt like that's what needed to come next. Like, why would you say that? Why are you being so disrespectful? You know, when you have things like that, how do you, like, take a deep breath and then just kind of handle it? Or do you just kind of like, not today, Satan? Like, what do you do in situations like that?
You know, it's always good to try to explain yourself. You know, a lot of the times they are very agitated, and just not get on, you know, not escalate the situation, just de-escalate helps a lot. A lot of times with you too, also because not a lot of people are, you know, aware on how to do a complaint process. If you guide them, okay, if you feel that I'm being rude, you know, and you want to go through with a complaint, I'll show you how to do the complaint. But first, let me explain to you why is it the reason I pulled you over, or whatever the reason is, or whatever it is, you know. So and many of the times people are so not educated on that. They don't know how to follow through with a complaint. They don't know that, okay, you know, well, he's being a butt about it, so I can go to a station, and the station's open 24/7, that I can go at 3 a.m. if I want to and drop a complaint to whoever and tell them, hey, on this date, this officer pulled me over and was being, you know, a butt. You know, a lot of people don't know that. But yes,
those are the kind of words I need to find, Rob. As I said, my goal this year is not to use cuss words. Like, I need to stop.
You gotta be yourself, Mariswole.
Yeah, right. I said that.
Did you have any? I had a question. Did you have any preconceived notions of cops before you became an officer?
Like.
Just like we're talking about people that don't know how to talk to officers, or they're just like always maybe angry at them already, especially then they get pulled over, they're more angry, and then just kind of have like a resentment towards them.
As like friends with...
No, you not being a police officer before you became one, did you ever feel like, I can't stand officers, or were you more like neutral, like you didn't really...
I guess because as well I wasn't like getting in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
I never really had a
confrontation or anything like that. Yeah.
Other than just a traffic stop, which I knew I was in violation for speeding. I knew I was at fault and I wasn't gonna disagree. But no, never. It never even crossed my mind. I never was like that either. Even before this whole thing with the riots and stuff, they never got on my nerves, or I never felt like, thank God you do your job, because I can't do that job. You know what I'm saying? And I was a criminal justice major to top it off, you know? So to me, I wanted to go be a probation officer and work with the deaf out in Huntsville. That was kind of like what I wanted to do. So my major was criminal justice and my minor was sign language. Well, I liked sign language so much, I didn't finish criminal justice, and I went just straight to being an interpreter. So it was funny because that's kind of what I wanted to do. And so maybe that's the reason why I never really saw it as
oh,
Like-
they're no good, or you know what I'm saying, I can't stand them or anything like that. To me, it was just like, it's a job. It's also a job I don't want to do. That's why I kind of wanted to be go into the probation officer stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't be out there. One, because I don't know that I have the patience sometimes,
Too.
you know what I'm saying, to deal with them. Like at the rodeo, you'll see it more, like with police officers having to deal with them drunks. I just don't know that I'd have the patience for it. It's just like, but you're drunk. Like, you clearly are drunk, sir. Like, so like, to me, it's always like, I don't know that I'd have the patience for it. But like you said, you didn't know if you thought that you wanted to do this job or that you'd ever like it. So, I guess you have to be in the situation to really know how you would handle something. Being a female in this as a police officer, has it grown more now? Are there more female police officers, or is it still, the ratio is still higher men than women?
I believe, I haven't seen any data or status here recently about it. But I want to say that, yes, women are starting, that number is growing definitely, because I see it a lot now, that more women are starting to join the police department.
That's
the
awesome.
police department. So it's actually pretty cool. When I joined, we were a total 69 cadets, and out of the 69, there was only 10 females. Further later, I want to say, like, classes later, one of my coworkers told me that there were like 20 females, I believe, from her class.
A lot, yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, that's a big difference. That's a big jump, because from when I started, it was only 10 of us.
And you started what year?
I started in 2012.
2012. Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's only grown probably from
yes,
there.
definitely.
That's interesting. Walk us through a day out in the field, and then I want to know what it's like now that you're a detective, because I'm sure it's different, right?
Yes. Well, out patrolling, it's every day is a new day. Like you say, you're basically walking into the unknown. You don't know what you're going to have that day. It's never your same routine. So it's not like you can say, oh, today I'm going to go to this place. Yeah. Today every day is different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't know versus, and then every day too, it's not like you have a set time, like, oh, I'm going to get off at 11 tonight.
Yeah.
Because 11's my cutoff time. You couldn't have anything planned because you didn't know if you were going to have a late call that was going to hold you past your shift. You know what I mean? And
are you paid overtime for that or no?
And it's funny that you say that.
Because I'd be like, I get off at 11. Y'all need to figure it out.
Yeah. So, no, fortunately for the city of Houston, no, it is not considered pay. Any time that you do go over your time, then it's considered time. So it's comp time. So you do get the comp time, but you won't get the overtime pay. Oh, wow. So, yes. I know here recently they're starting to get a little bit better to where if you have like a major cluster, like it's something big, and it's for sure that you're not going to get off within the next 30 minutes, an hour, they'll send you some like a release and say, oh, okay, well, you could go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead and get off on time. This officer's going to take over.
Oh, okay.
But when I started, no, it was mainly, you had to work it and you will get the comp time. But now that I'm under investigations, I guess you can say that the beauty of it is that, yes, whenever I'm not on call, I do have a set time. I can say, okay, I will get off unless you have something that it's got to get done that day that might hold you past your time. Then you'll stay, and of course it will still be the same. It'll be the comp time.
Yeah.
But the difference, did I like patrolling? Did I enjoy it? Yes.
Do you miss it?
Yes, at times I do miss it because every day was a fresh start. Every day was a new day. Whatever you did yesterday was handled yesterday. You finished with it. Versus investigations, you have a caseload, and your caseload is not little, you have a big, huge caseload. You can have up to like 30. I remember at one point I was at up to 33 cases. And for one person, there was no way that you could handle 33 cases. I mean, it was just impossible. We're doing a little bit better now to where at least one investigator handles at least, maximum. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Hey.
I know, right?
Maximum of 25 cases. But again, like I said,
Wait, a maximum of 25 cases? That's still a lot.
yeah, it's still high.
Okay, I have a question then for you. So do you have to solve them within like?
So there's
How long?
not a really set time on when they have to be done, but you do have to basically, what we call it, touch. You have to open that case every 30 days. So if within 30 days that case does not get touched, then your supervisor says, hey, what's going on with this case? Why haven't you opened it? So it's constantly like it's a stress. It's very stressed. It's stressful. The type of
Is
cases.
the adrenaline also different, like being on patrol versus investigation? Do you miss any of the adrenaline that came with the other job?
With patrol?
Yeah.
Yes and no, because it's a different type of adrenaline. The cases that we deal with are physical, sexual, and child fatality. Okay, so a lot of these cases are pretty bad. So when you become the voice of a child, you do anything to help this child. Be like, I'm gonna get justice for this child.
Yeah.
So when you make the arrest, and the entire time while you're working your case, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I can't wait till I talk to this.
Yeah.
And when you finally get towards the end of your case and you get that person arrested, the
satisfaction, like it feels
that
so
you
good.
get,
Yeah, I bet.
You're like, yes, I did something for this child.
Yeah.
It's that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I don't want to compare it, but when I watch Criminal Minds, that's how I feel at the end of it.
What?
Caught him at the end of Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. They got him, yes.
It's funny because when I first met my husband, because I guess I was a criminal justice major, I was so obsessed with watching like Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes.
And Discovery, it's not Discovery, I know it's called Discovery Plus now, but it was only a channel for murders and Discovery ID. I'm sorry, that's what it was. Discovery ID. And I'd be up till 3 a.m. and I'd be like, oh my God, they have to solve this. Well, when I first met him, I was obsessed with watching this. He'd be like, we're going to bed watching this? I'm like, but it's so interesting. Is it not interesting to you? He goes, not at all. He's like, this is stressful. He's like, I don't want to watch this. He's like, I want to watch something funny. Like, I want to watch something like, but to me, just watching the process, there was one that I always remember this was because it was crazy to me because it was in Florida. So I guess in the 70s, you were allowed to drink, and it wasn't like, I guess, against the law for you to have an open container and be drinking. So these guys had a van and they were all partying, right? Well, this guy never came home in his van, but they had been out partying. Well, we're talking about in the 70s, and now we're talking in 2001. 2001. They find the van underneath this lake, okay? And man, it reminded me when you said right now, when you prayed for this girl, like your dreams went away. Well, when they had the scuba divers go in to kind of like get everything, his ID floated up.
Wow.
To identify. And I was like, I get goosebumps again right now just thinking about it. I was like, that's him. It was him telling them, like, you found me. Finally, this is going to be solved.
Yeah.
They interviewed people left and right. They even went back to interviewing the 2 guys that he was with. We're talking about years later, but it's so much farther later. When they took the van out, it pretty much fell apart. All that was left was just basically like the seat. The tires were still there. So there was nothing like that they could rub to get like fingerprints. There was nothing. So it remained unsolved, but they never found the van until that year. So the parents kind of got closure, but I was just crying watching it because the mom said that she would still put presents out for Christmas in hopes that he was going to walk in through the door one day. And I was like, oh, I was like, I can't. I was like, I can't. And I think when I told him that, I said, man, I just watched one right now. He goes, do you not see how that's weird? I'm like, no, not at all. I'm like, I think it's amazing. Like, it's so crazy because you have so much studying to do. You have so many things to read. And then it's like, just how they show like, wait, but you said you talked to who? Or like just the way they like will ask questions and then they'll ask it a different way. It makes the person nervous. And then you're like, okay. And so it's kind of like watching that whole process is amazing, because it's got to be so rewarding to know that you helped a family find who killed their son or their daughter or whoever it is,
Right.
Even with this whole like military case, you know what I'm saying? That where there's so many families that have lost their loved ones and no one knows where they are and there's no answers. I feel like when these answers do come out, it's going to finally bring closure to this family, But I don't know that I could do kids. I'll be honest with you. I think I would take that home every day. Like I don't think I'd know how to stop. Does that make sense? Because I'd be like wanting to make sure it was solved today. Like it needs to be solved today. Because I worked at a foster agency.
Oh wow.
So in the foster agency that I actually worked for housed teens that were coming out of jail. So it was their halfway house as well. So because again, I was a criminal justice major, I thought this would be a good way for me to kind of like experience and kind of see or whatever. And so I started just seeing just crazy things. And I just said, yeah, so I think I need a different job. I was like, I don't know that I can handle this every day. I'd take it home. I'd come tell my mom like, well, I picked up a kid today. I was like, so I think I've told the story on y'all's podcast, but this family, these kids were taken away from the dad. The mom had passed, and I guess the dad was having them have sex and would kind of like videotape them, And so they'd been doing it for so long, they just saw it as normal. And we had to have like pagers and you were on call. Sometimes if you had to go pick up kids or if another CPS office called you, that you would be willing to take like in Dallas or some other, if you'd take them in, if you had a home for them or whatever. So anyway, this family calls and they say that they basically caught them again, kind of like having sex, And I was just like, they were a very Baptist family. They were really trying to like change these poor kids. And it was like, but that's all they knew, And I'm not saying it's okay at all, but you know what I'm saying? It's like kids go through so much, all because of these parents' fault, and it's like, my gosh. And after that, that's kind of when I was like, I think it's time for me to go back to working at customer service while I finish school because I can't do this. I was like, it's too much.
And so just imagine those type of cases, and we have tons. I mean, tons. We are big.
You don't hear about it like that. Like, why isn't there like some kind of, I don't know,
awareness?
Like, yeah, awareness.
Say. Yeah. We try to, put a voice out there for, like red flags, especially if we have where I work at. I work off the Children's Assessment Center, which everyone's not only law enforcement, but we have, family advocates, we have CPS, the attorney's office there as well. So, we all try to at least try to bring out some awareness. Like, hey, if you see some red flags on, any source of physical abuse, make sure you report it. Make sure you report it to CPS. But yes, you'll be amazed on. I mean, we already considered like the third biggest city of the nation.
Yeah.
So our caseload is it's insane, and the type of cases that we have that we deal with, crimes against children, it's including physical and it's including, sexual. And the sexuals, a lot of the times too, many people who, immigrate from other countries that in their countries to them is normal. So when they come here, they see it as, oh, it's the same thing, it's normal. And no, it's not normal. You know what I mean? I guess some parents think like, oh, it's just la tocó pero no la violó.
Yeah,
it's still. But in their country, they see it as, well, he just fondled her. He didn't rape her. He didn't sexually assault her. So it's okay.
Wow.
So
that's insane. I know that I was telling Rob that I saw that we are now on the top 5 most dangerous city, and that this year 2020, or not 2021, but 2020 was the highest murder rates ever before in a decade. And I was like, what is happening? I was like, I thought we were on a lockdown for I don't know how many months. Why were y'all kill? I guess like they just couldn't stand being with I mean, why are you killing somebody, Right. But going back to where I was telling you before we were on the podcast, the guy at the gym that I go to, he's like, just be careful. He's like, because it's getting crazier out there. He's like, if somebody cuts you off, he's like, don't honk your horn. Don't get mad. He's like, because right now people are very upset. They're on edge because of everything that's going on. They're, some people lost their jobs. They don't have work. They don't, they don't have food. So right now they're going to kill to survive. He's like, so just be careful, when you're out there. He's like, because it's getting bad. Well, I was like, oh, okay, well, thanks for the heads up. And then when I started like kind of reading and looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, so that's why he said it. Okay, damn, I didn't know it had gone up that much. You know what I'm saying? In this time, it's
everything.
crazy.
Not murder rate has gone up so high, including, like you said, road rage. Road rage right now. I mean, we lost one of our sergeants, Sergeant Rios, from a road rage a couple of months ago. So, and I tell my family as well, I fear for them.
Yeah.
That, they're out there. And I mean, I don't know, you could be doing the right thing, minding your own business, and somebody can just be on a different level and be like, screw this, F you, and shoot. So it's very dangerous. And I always advise them, hey, someone cuts you off, let it go.
Yeah.
Let it be. Don't honk. Just whatever. Because you don't ever know now,
How do you feel about like just what's going on around the country as far as a lot of people shift on the attitude of like defunding the police or just their attitude towards it? I mean, I don't know if you have any kind of opinions that you want to talk about or put out there.
Well, of course, me being law enforcement, I totally disagree.
Yeah,
I think it would affect, the calls for service, as I was mentioning. I mean, we are already hurting for police officers. We were so low. People complain about, it took you 3 hours to show up to my call when I had an accident. Again, because the calls come in through priorities: priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. So if it's a fender bender or whatever, we're going to take the most high priority call first before we go to you. And so it's a snowball. If there's no more funds coming into where we can hire new cadets, to make them police officers, and not having the proper training, is going to affect, by the time, if you, God forbid, but you do end up needing an emergency and you call 911, who knows, maybe the response time will be 2 hours before, a code 2, which meaning a high priority, can get to you. Why? Because there's no one on the streets, or they're busy handling a shooting, or they're busy handling a murder, or whatever it is, So we're already on the, low power end. Even with investigations, we cannot get any more investigators because patrol is low, And so that causes a snowball to where us as investigators, we have a high caseload because no one else can work them but you.
For sure.
And we're not going to get another body from patrol because patrol needs that person.
Yeah, because obviously you guys need people on the field, but you also need people who are detectives. And it's like, okay, if we take one, that's less out there when people call for emergencies. You know what I'm saying? When this was all going on, was the morale in the police department kind of low? Were they feeling like, I don't want to use the word afraid, but were they feeling like a little bit more standoffish to answer calls? Or do you feel like people were just going regular on with their day, being a police officer? It is what it is. We have to do our job.
No, most definitely. I believe that, not that they were afraid. Of course, you're a human being. You're going to feel some sort of fear.
Of course.
But it did alert us even more to where, hey, this is where the whole manpower deal comes into play. Like, well, we don't want an officer to ride solo. We're going to pair him up. Hey, y'all become 2-man. And that at least removes that body from being a tool call. And it's just, it creates that
that's a snowball effect that you're talking about. Yeah,
yes,
it makes total sense.
Okay, well, you could have handled that accident, but now y'all are riding 2-man because, you need to have some backup. You need to have, 2 bodies showing up to a call. So, and if we're high alerted like that, of course, it's better to ride with somebody than riding solo.
Right. Of course. Like, I would be more afraid to go into somewhere where I'm like, man, I don't know about this place. Can somebody, I'd be like, can somebody come with me? Cause I don't know if I want to come here by myself. Whenever, I guess whenever this was happening and stuff, were there a lot of police officers that were feeling like, yeah, I don't know that I want to do this anymore? Or were they more like, okay, what can we do to get more people to come on to join us?
It's so funny that you say that too, because when the whole protest was going on, mm-hmm. it was sad. It really, it brought you down. You're
mm-hmm.
like, wow,
mm-hmm.
We put our lives in the line
mm-hmm.
for you to, hate me so much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And it was amazing that I clearly remember this. We were stationed over at our downtown area, headquarters area, mm-hmm. to guard our headquarters. And we were there. And of course, we had some protesters come yell at us, literally at our face, throwing bottled waters at us, cones, yelling ugly stuff. And then you also had your people who would come and they would shake your hand and
thank you
and thank us for our service. So that there kind of just overdid everything.
Yeah, overpowered with the negative, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So it was just, I guess you could say, a time in my career that I won't ever forget.
Yeah, for sure. When I would see those videos, I'd be like, how did we come to where we're able to disrespect a police officer like that, right? Where you're just throwing bottled waters at them, or they're not able to defend themselves. That's what was crazier to me, was that you weren't allowed to do anything. And I'm not saying pull out your gun, but I'm saying you weren't even allowed to kind of like touch or push, or it was kind of like, okay, well,
right.
We don't know what's going to happen, but we're just going to see how this goes, And to me, it was like, my gosh, like at some point I get it. I get you guys are mad because, again, there was that one bad apple, you know what I'm saying, that caused, shot someone. But I really feel in my heart, and I could be wrong, but I think there's more good police officers than there are bad police officers. And it's unfortunate that those few that are bad make all the other ones look bad. You know what I'm saying? When I don't feel like it's that way. One question I did have for you was like, were y'all a little bit more afraid now? Like, as far as like when calls were coming in, like, was it more like, what is this one going to be like today? Versus, I'm sure it's always like that. But when it was this whole riot and all the protesting was happening, was it more like, all right, guys, like, did y'all have to have a meeting? Like, be prepared because this might happen, that might happen. And does everybody have this? Does everybody have that? Was it kind of like that?
So again, I was already under investigation, so I wasn't out on patrol when that occurred. But when we were mobilized, I was put into night shift. And what was kind of scary was that it was, I want to say it was a Friday night when the city decided to, get mobilized and say, hey, they're starting to come up, towards downtown, start calling people in. Again, we're human beings. So what do you do when it's a Friday night, you had a long week, you get home, you shower, you get in your PJs, you pop that bottle of wine and you're like, I'm on wine, right?
Yeah.
So they started calling people, hey, y'all need to come in. They're like, well, a lot of people had already started drinking, so they couldn't.
Yeah.
They couldn't go to work. So it was pretty bad that Friday, because I guess I could say we weren't really prepared enough.
Sure, of course. I don't think any police department was prepared for this mess.
With the manpower.
Yeah.
Again. But came Saturday, of course, we were ready, and it was kind of scary that we were like, okay, well, here comes a big crowd. Y'all get ready, hold the line, guys. And we're just there ready to, just hold on tight and not, let go. It was long hours on, on your feet. But I can probably say that based, again, through the training that we get, Houston Police Department, it's one of the agencies that has the most training, which is really, really good. We were ready. We saw things that, some vehicles did get vandalized and, but compared to other cities, we did great. We did great.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Wow. I can't even imagine being called to work because some people are going to come and try to attack us. It's almost like you're going to war.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, you guys ready? Because it looks like the other gang is coming to attack us. So get ready. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay. Can you imagine getting up though? To get up to do that, to go sit there and fight. That's what you're waiting for, because you don't, like you said, it's unexpected. Yes. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if someone's going to throw a bottle and cause a fire. You don't know if someone's going to just, you don't know if someone's going to turn around and want to shoot. You know what I'm saying? You just don't know. People were so angry during that time. They were just doing anything. You know what I'm saying? And it blows my mind how people just think that that's the solution to defund the police. And I know that thankfully now they're trying to be more clear as to what defunding actually means. But I think that taking away money from the police department doesn't do any good. I think if anything, we should probably give more money so that I think we can train police officers a lot better, whether it be to learn how to handle somebody who's schizophrenic. If you're going to go to a call that's, because you don't know. I mean, when you get a call, they don't tell you, by the way, he's schizophrenic. He's taking about, I don't know how many pills, because usually it's probably someone calling saying, hey, I don't know what's wrong with him, but he's acting out or whatever it is, So it's like, I feel like you have to be prepared for stuff like that, and the only way to do it is with training. So if you took the money away, then how are we going to provide training for our police officers?
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you heard any justifications for good ways of reallocating or defunding police that you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense?
Well, again, we already have some sort of programs like that. For example, with the mental health, type of calls. We have a specialized unit that, if patrol gets a call and says, hey, something's wrong with this person, they're acting weird. Patrol gets there and they see signs that, okay, we have a specialized unit that we can call. And if they're available, again, the whole snowball situation, if they're available, then they have an actual, not an advocate, but kind of
somebody that knows how to handle it or talk to them, I guess, or know what to do, I would think. See, no one knows that. I don't think no one knows that there's actually police officers that have been trained to handle. I didn't hear anything did you hear anything like that, Rob, where you knew about?
I mean, I have a friend who's what do you call it? Not a negotiator, but somebody that de-escalates, right? Is that what I'm looking for?
So yeah.
Yeah.
So we also have de-escalation unit. They're called.
She's a really good friend of mine. I forgot what it is. There's a term for it. There's a term for it. I have to look it up while you guys talk.
Yeah, so that was always my thing, and it was like, I had so many, people be upset because I was not for the defunding the police, but I guess maybe because I was a criminal justice major, I kind of understand a little bit about how it works. I guess in my past jobs were social service type of jobs, so I kind of understood also how that worked. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was more like, let's look at the big picture. I think we would benefit more if we would find ways to train. And also, it's like anything you think of, right? We're all motivated by money, So I feel I'm not like I said. There's probably people that join the police department and they're probably not good people, obviously, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully as time goes, their sergeant or somebody or their fellow police officer will say like, hey, something's up with this person. Like, y'all need to reevaluate him. Like, he shouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? So I would hope that other police officers will call out another police officer that's just showing signs of, they probably shouldn't be on the police department. But I feel like at times, police officers need to be given a chance for us civilians to understand what it's like for you guys. That's the reason why I wanted to have you on, is because in addition to appreciating what you do is, also to help others who felt that way about defunding the police, why it is important to keep us on, why it is important to have a police department, why it is important to have an investigative department or, any of that, because it's a hard job. And if it were that easy, then we'd all be doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you walk out the door, your partner doesn't know if you're going to come home that night if you're a police officer.
Right.
This husband doesn't know if he'll see his wife again or whatever the case may be. Right. You know what I'm saying? So every day that they go out there, it's a risk that a police officer takes. And and obviously, you can't say that they're motivated by pay. It's obviously they're doing this because they genuinely love what they do, because if it was about pay, then we probably would have a lot more people, I feel, on the police department. I feel like that's why if we would up the pay a little bit more for police officers, I feel this way about teachers too, because I don't feel teachers get paid enough either. I feel like if we just paid our police officers a little bit more, I think we'd have a little bit more people motivated to maybe want to do this job. You know what I'm saying? In addition to obviously caring for your community or whatever. Like the guy that I know that's a police officer, he really knew that he wanted to patrol the area where he grew up in because that was his dream. My husband has a friend who was going to be a doctor. He was in medical school already, but his dream was always to be a police officer. And he quit medical school to be, he said when they would play, when they were kids and they would play like cop and robber, he always wanted to be the cop. Like Pete was the robber.
That makes sense.
And he was the cop. He knew since he was little that this was his dream job. So he quit medical school to be a police officer. You know what I'm saying?
I bet his parents were happy.
Yeah, right. I know. No, yeah, they were not.
I have coworkers that actually are in my division right now. She was an attorney making great money, but her thing was like, no, I want to be, a detective.
Crisis intervention team is what that's
our
term.
Mental health.
Yeah.
Unit, the one I was just mentioning to you about.
Actually, Mariswole mentioned a good point that I've heard people kind of echo online is that, when somebody, or back in the day, let's say 20, 30 years ago, usually police officers used to live within the community they patrol. But now, when you look at cities like they use Portland or California, a lot of these officers don't live in LA County. They live outside. They live an hour plus away. And then they're coming in, and these people don't know these people who are patrolling the streets, which is why they have less respect for them, because they're coming from other counties, other cities away to their city, and then causing all this havoc, as they call it.
Wow.
So I don't know if that's justified everywhere across the country, but in some of these huge cities, that's what people don't like.
And I do feel like, for example, one of the conversations that I had with the gentleman that attends the gym that I go to is, I don't even know if this is a solution, but because they assume that all police officers are racist, right? So let's put if you're patrolling a predominantly black neighborhood, let's put a white police officer with a black police officer so that there could be no like argument. Like, okay, there was, a a white cop and a black cop there. So if, let's just say, the white cop was being racist or acting out in a certain way, at least there's a black cop that's there and it's like, no, like, that's not how you handle it, whatever. Funny you say that you're talking about not enough men out there patrolling. He was telling me, he's like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. He's like, because it's overwhelming. He's like, it's getting to the point where it's become overwhelming and it's getting crazier and people are getting crazier. He's like, so I don't know. And he's about to hit his 10-year mark. So he's like, I think I've got 2 more years. He's like, I think I'm going to do 10 years and then I don't know where I'll go from there. And I was like, he's like, and I've never felt like that until now. Mm-hmm. And that was like, what? He's like, I love my job. He's like, I never woke up any day and felt like, I got to go to work. It's like, I woke up and I already knew what I was going to do. And I was going to go do my job. And, and I live in the 3rd Ward area. So there's a lot of homeless in downtown because that's kind of where it is. And so he'll say things like, I already have to handle the homeless. They're always fighting, or there's one that's being called because they're overdosed on something. And, you got to do this. Now you got to do that. He's like, and he feels like that part of it has gone up even more to where there's even more homeless and there's even like more people just out there, like just, on drugs and so forth. He's like, I've been a police officer almost 10 years. He's like, I don't think I've seen it as much as I see it now, which makes sense about the murder rates going up and so forth, because, I mean, if he's seeing it more now, you guys are the ones that are on the field, not us. So, and that's why I think it's important for us to have conversation about it, because I feel like the more we know, the better we can understand how certain things work. And if you take cops away, then who's going to help us? Who's gonna come? If somebody breaks into your house, am I gonna call the social worker?
Right.
I mean, who am I? No,
exactly.
It's like a legit question. Yes. Like, who am I supposed to call?
I guess, yeah. And that's one of the things too. That
CPS.
Like,
who?
Right. Exactly. And that's where we come in. Or like, why would you want to defund the police? Yeah, I understand that you want to have more programs out there, which they do exist already, but having and adding more funds into that is not going to help when you really have a true emergency out there.
Yeah. It's insane to me. I don't know what the solution is, obviously, right? Because I think if we had it, it probably would have already been done. But I think baby steps to get there is the perfect way. And I think talking to more police officers, I think it takes like our mayor, our governor, it takes like, let's talk about where we're lacking in HPD, or where we're lacking in Dallas PD, or anywhere. Like what's our weakness, and let's work on that. Let's put our money into that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Versus
people just wanting to say, hell no, we're not putting money into that. It was funny because my uncle always was part of the 100 Club, always. And he was so proud of all his stickers on the back of his car. It's the funniest thing ever. Well, when he sold his car, he traded in. He was like, well, what am I going to do with them? And he's like, can I take my stickers off? And the guy, when he was trading, he was like, your stickers? You're worried about? He's like, yes. He's like, I want for police to know that I donate. You know what I'm saying? It was hilarious that he was so proud of, because his thing went all the way in the back of the windshield from where he just collects all of it. He was like, I want my stickers. And I was like, Tío Güero, like, just, it's okay. He's like, no, it's like, I want my stickers. It was hilarious to me, but
that's funny. And I also believe that, having to do community policing as well. I mean, it's, having to get out there, get off the vehicle, you know, interact with the community also helps. You know, a lot of the times too, you know, people never, like me in the past, you know, I never interacted with a police officer other than a traffic stop.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I was just like, yes, sir, you know, but maybe had I been interacted more with one, maybe I could have probably felt not so like
more comfortable.
More comfortable, exactly.
Yeah.
So I believe that can also help. That, and what you mentioned, it's also a good statement about baby steps. You know, maybe getting out there, asking, okay, well, what do y'all expect from us? You know, how can we fix certain issues? You know, and that way we can all, community and law enforcement, come together and understand each other.
Open conversation is so important about these things, and that's why, like, I really want to make it a point that this time on this series of episodes that I have, that I'm actually informing you guys, just so that you feel like, let me look into that, or let me see what I can do in my community, you know, to see how I can get involved and assist, because not only are we having the highest murder rate in Houston, but we're also number 2 in sex trafficking, you know? And so it's like, so police officers have to handle that too when they go bust a house. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't have enough police officers already to handle so much happening. So if we take them away, how will we ever take kids out of an abusive home? How will we find kids who are being sex trafficked, or even females and males? And if we're taking this away from our community, how are we going to do that? A social worker is not skilled to do any of those things, you know what I'm saying, or handle any of those things. You know, they're social workers because that's what they went to school for, to be a social worker. And a police officer went to the police academy to be a police officer. So if you take those things away, we're only causing harm to our community. We're only causing harm to our city, because now everything's up for grabs. It's like, well, hell, I don't care. I'm going to shoot him then. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not going to get in trouble. No one's going to arrest me anyway. There ain't no cops here to come get me. So they probably will never find me. So, hey, let's have a little shooting fest here. You know what I'm saying? So,
jeez, might as well.
Well, you know what I mean? I mean, that's when people were saying that, I was like, if someone breaks in my house, it's me or you. So it's not going to be me. It's going to be you. So we're talking. I mean, my kids are in my house. You know, so I am not afraid to shoot you at all. I'm not, because again, you're coming into my house. You are, you know, trying to invade my family, my home. So I only can imagine that when a police officer approaches a situation, they're approaching things as, I'm here to help my community. I'm here to serve the people of where I'm working, or this call, or whatever it is. So I need to handle this because, you know, I don't want anybody in this situation to be hurt.
Right.
And it's sometimes one cop against all these people there when they show up.
Right.
I'd be like, did you already call back up? Because you are by yourself. And there is a lot of people. I see it here all the time, you know, because as you see, it's like we're divided. It's like this side is the nicer side, and this side of where I live is like the bad side. And sometimes I'll see a cop and I'll be like, where's your buddy? Like, why aren't you here? Why are you here by yourself? But now that makes sense with you telling me that there's not enough cops. So
and you know,
sometimes you have to go by yourself.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that too, because I remember from when I started, and I was officially off the program, I started on night shift. And there was, between shift change, there was a gap that I was literally the only officer out on the street patrolling the entire 12 district, what we call it, which is like Clear Lake area, starting from our area, started from Edgebrook all the way to Bay Area.
Just you by yourself?
So, yes. Jeez. So, just me by myself. And in an hour, out on patrol, anything can happen. That's a long time. You know, any call could have dropped within that hour.
Before the next person comes on shift, basically.
Right.
Wow.
So, in my closest unit was over in 14th district, which is like 610 and MOK. So,
that's far. That's a huge.
So, that just to show you, you know, how even when I started, we were still low on manpower. And now it's even worse,
So or maybe you do or don't know, is there a happy medium of how many police officers should be working?
Yes. So we do have like a minimum staff that has to be on.
Oh, okay.
But again, there was days that we were low. There was no way. They're like, okay, well, within an hour, someone else is going to come in. And as soon as that person's in, hit the streets, But yeah, there was times that did happen.
Before y'all wrap it up, I wanted to ask if you had any comments on what happened yesterday in the Capitol.
It was sad.
Yeah.
Me being born and raised here, being an American, it was a disgrace to see that.
Very. I agree. I feel like what I hated most was to see people say that they should be arrested, but when people were rioting and protesting, nobody was saying that they should be arrested. I think I was telling Rob, the law is the law. Both parties broke the law. Whether you were rioting and vandalizing businesses, looting everything, you broke the law. And you pushing up, you know what I'm saying? Just doing that, breaking into, you broke the law. So y'all should go to jail. I totally 100% feel like you can't
have political violence.
You can't.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like it's not. It's become, people are so divided right now, and everybody is so mad at this party and at this party, and they're just fighting. It's just like everybody's just kind of waiting. Who's going to do the worst? Let me see, huh?
The motto for 2021's got to be everybody be cool.
Yeah,
be cool.
It has to be.
Exactly.
It's like the Democrats are waiting to see what the Republicans are doing. The Republicans are waiting to see what the Democrats are doing. It's like, who's going to do it worse? Let me see. Oh, yeah, y'all went worse. Y'all went to the Capitol. You know what I'm saying? So it was like
some high schoolers.
It's like, it's what I see. It's funny. You know what I'm saying? It's like
crazy.
Wait, y'all didn't think that rioting and looting and, throwing bottles at police officers and doing all that was not breaking the law, but this was. Both are wrong. I'm sorry.
Right.
Whatever way you want to look at it, I feel like both are wrong and both should be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask because it was so fresh,
Yeah, no, I agree with Mariswole.
Yeah.
Yes. You
broke the law. The law and order. The law is the law. You broke the law.
He dicho.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care how you look at it. But anyway, Miriam, I really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for what you do. Your job is very hard. Keep killing it. Keep doing your job and keep solving these poor babies and find them and make sure you put them to jail so that, we have less kids going through all this mess. So thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.